time it is. You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time it says. You know what time it is. You know whose time it is.
Welcome to the Matthew Mania podcast. I'm Matthew Maschler, real estate broker who watches wrestling as if it's my job. And today is Super Bowl Sunday. It is the New England Patriots versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I am personally rooting for the Seattle Seahawks, partially because I dislike the Patriots and partially because the Seahawks was actually my son David's second favorite team. When he was a kid, he liked Marshawn Lynch and Russell Wilson, and he always liked the Seahawks. So we're a Hawks house. Go Hawks. We went to visit Seattle last year. They killed the Dolphins. Anyway, that's the Super Bowl lineup. But what everybody's talking about is the halftime show. Bad Bunny. And more people are talking about the halftime show than that time when Janet Jackson let a nip slip. And a lot of people talked about that. But more people are talking about Bad Bunny being the entertainment for the halftime show. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think about Bad Bunny. So now, before I get into it, I want to answer a question that when I talk to people, they ask, what does Bad Bunny have to do with football? Really, the answer is nothing, right? Like, who is the target audience for the NFL halftime show? So believe it or not, the target audience for the NFL halftime show is not football fans, right? Football fans are going to watch the Super Bowl regardless of who the halftime show is, right? I remember as a kid going to a Super Bowl party and like Billy Joel was did the national anthem. I was very excited, right? But that's not why I tuned in. I tuned in to watch the game. So if you're a football fan, if you're going to watch the Super Bowl, no matter what, they already have you. You're already watching. They could already sell to their advertisers that you'll be watching. Their job is to get more people to watch. So they need to go outside of the usual talent, the talent of that people would normally watch the Super Bowl, and find someone else. And what better person to choose than one of the biggest recording stars on the planet at the moment? Multiple hit albums, just won a Grammy. Obviously, they didn't know he was going to win the Grammy when they hired him for the Super Bowl. But Bad Bunny, all right. So just like Janet Jackson or maybe a Billy Joel or Aerosmith, one of the biggest stars on the planet will be doing the Super Bowl halftime show. And I like to joke. It's not really a joke. I say, tell me who you voted for in the last election, and I'll tell you what you thought of the halftime show before you even watch it. So I don't know. It's political, but go on record. Bad Bunny, he's from Puerto Rico. He is American, American as anyone else who was born in this country. And I, for one, can't wait to see the show. I have absolutely no idea what his songs are about. I do not understand them, but I also don't understand Taylor Swift. I don't know what her songs are about. Actually, I can't quite hear the words. I also don't know the words to any Nirvana songs, and I'll sing along to a Nirvana song, but don't know what the words are, don't know what the songs are about or what they mean. But I like Nirvana, even though I don't understand the lyrics. I don't think I am the target audience for Bad Bunny. His songs do not appeal to me, but my opinion doesn't really matter. I don't think I'm the target audience for his art or for what the Super Bowl is trying to sell. So it really doesn't matter what I think. But I am excited to see Bad Bunny. I was more excited to see The Weeknd. I am a big fan of The Weeknd. I'm pretty sure I did an episode of the podcast about that time that I took my daughter, who was not quite 13 years old, to see The Weeknd. Quite inappropriate. So I want to talk to you about Bad Bunny and what I think about Bad Bunny. All right. Obviously, I'd heard of Bad Bunny, but I really was quite unfamiliar with him. I'm pretty sure the first time I really heard about and knew and understood Bad Bunny was January of 2021, coming out of the lockdown, the COVID quarantine era. Bad Bunny was in. I think he was in. No, it was. I don't think he was an entrant, but he was performing a song at the Royal Rumble in January of 2021. Bad Bunny, who is a wrestling fan, and a lot of his songs are inspired by wrestlers, and he has a song called Booker T. I don't think it's about Booker T. I think it's about overcoming adversity like Booker T. Maybe Booker T was an inspiration to Bad Bunny, but he has a song called Booker T, which I'm pretty sure won a Latin Grammy, and he performed it in January 2021 at the Royal Rumble. And I remember Booker T being present, and he was all dressed up in camo and had a very severe look on his face, and he stood there while Bad Bunny performed his hit song, Grammy-winning song, Booker T, before getting involved in the Royal Rumble itself, leaping from the top rope on to The Miz and John Morrison. And it was absolutely incredible to watch. We did not expect, he got such height. Did not expect such height from Bad Bunny. Generally, when a pop star comes into the wrestling world, they do not perform so well. Like guys like Bob Barker or was that lady from the Golden Girls, right? Or back in my day, Cyndi Lauper. So anyway, Bad Bunny at the Royal Rumble. It was quite an incredible jump from the top rope onto Miz and Morrison, which then led Bad Bunny to follow up a Monday Night Raw. I think it was Valentine's Day, but right around Valentine's Day, Monday Night Raw, with help from Damian Priest. Bad Bunny won the WWE 24/7 Championship. So Bad Bunny is a WWE champion, and gotta respect the guy that has that legacy, winning the WWE 24/7 Championship. That was a fun championship. I don't think they have that one going on anymore, but it's quite fun. Bad Bunny wore that championship quite proudly, brought it in to Saturday Night Live, 30 Rock, Rockefeller Center in New York, when he was the musical guest that weekend. Bad Bunny was the musical guest and brought the WWE 24/7 Championship with him. Right, ladies and gentlemen, WWE 24/7 Champion, Bad Bunny. And so that will be not the second time I'd seen Bad Bunny, but the second time I'd seen him perform at watching that episode of Saturday Night Live. And he performed two of his songs. They were in Spanish. I had absolutely no idea what the songs were about. But again, that's on me. I don't speak Spanish. I don't know what a lot of songs are about. And he then, I think he came back to Saturday Night Live to 2 years later, in 2023. He was the host and the musical guest. He returned as a musical guest for the season 50 finale in May of 2025. And he also hosted Saturday Night Live in October of 2025 with Doja Cat for the season 51 premiere. So he bookended 50 years of Saturday Night Live, ends with Bad Bunny as the musical guest, and the second 50 years of Saturday Night Live starts with Bad Bunny as the host. And he had some incredible roles in Saturday Night Live, and it was so good that I didn't even, when I watched the Happy Gilmore sequel and I saw him as the busboy, I'm watching the movie and I'm like, oh, that's the guy from Saturday Night Live. I didn't even recognize him as Bad Bunny, the musician, because I am so familiar with him at Saturday Night Live and then in Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler and all these other comedians, I'm literally thinking that's the guy from Saturday Night Live. And it's because he's been a host multiple times and musical guest multiple times. And as musical guest, he would do cameos. He had some great cameos. Oh, do you remember the one when Kenan Thompson was cooking Dominican food and he needed a big ass pot? So to get the pot, he had to call his Puerto Rican cousin Big Bunny. Kenan Thompson was Big Papi. Big Papi, the David Ortiz from the Boston Red Sox. So Big Papi was doing a cooking show, and he had to call Big Bunny, this Puerto Rican, for cousin for a big ass pot. Hysterical, and yeah, he did a lot of cameos in Saturday Night Live, and absolutely hysterical. What amazing actor! This is me familiar with Bad Bunny from his acting and his comedy, not from his music. Going back to the Royal Rumble, right? He got involved, leapt from the top rope over Miz Morrison, wins the 24/7 championship, and that takes him to WrestleMania. He takes he was a 24/7 champion at WrestleMania, but Saturday Night Live, and then April 2021, it's the lockdown era. We were socially distanced in the stadium in Tampa, and Damian Priest and Bad Bunny versus Miz and Morrison. And it's 2021, and Bad Bunny back then was one of the biggest recording artists in the world. That's why he was there at WrestleMania. But I don't even think he sung at WrestleMania. He was there to wrestle because he had been wrestling all year and winning that championship and appearing in other matches. And it was absolutely amazing. He put John Morrison through a table. Really did an outstanding job. Really, really quite impressive. Hanging in there as a wrestler. And I remember when the match opened and before the entrances, a bunch of guys in bunny suits. And there's a couple years ago, there was a bunny wrestler in a bunny suit. Anyway, that's a different story. But they had all these bunnies. I don't know if it was 10 or 12 bunny suits come down the ramp. They're hopping along, and I'm like, this is the corniest thing ever, right? I'm saying Bad Bunny with all these guys in bunny suits. But it wasn't Bad Bunny. It was Miz and Morrison who had all of the bunny guys. And once I realized that, it went from corny to hysterical. Miz and Morrison were busting on Bad Bunny with that entrance with all of the bunnies. So it was really hysterical. Great match, WrestleMania 2021. And then back to the Royal Rumble, whereas the year before he performed the song, now in January 2022, he enters the Royal Rumble as a participant, and he actually lasted to the final 5. But let me tell you something. The thought of Bad Bunny winning the Royal Rumble and going on to main event WrestleMania was a little absurd. I'm glad he did not win the Royal Rumble, but okay, it was still great. And then a year later, after WrestleMania, now it's 2023. What did he do? He came in and helped Rey Mysterio, right? It was 2023. It was Rey Mysterio versus Dominic, and Bad Bunny kept and got involved. And he helped, had a moment with Rey Mysterio against Bad Bunny, against Rey's son Dominic, and then going to Backlash 2023, which was in Puerto Rico. And I'm so upset that I didn't go to that Backlash in 2023 in Puerto Rico. He had a street fight, a San Juan street fight, Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest in Puerto Rico. I remember, I had plans that weekend, but then before the match, I'm like, I could have gotten on a JetBlue flight. Ended up in Puerto Rico. It's an hour away by flight. And I'm upset that I missed that one. Backlash 2023, Damian Priest versus Bad Bunny in a San Juan street fight. Absolutely fantastic. So shout out to Bad Bunny, the wrestler, the 24/7 champion, the star of multiple WrestleManias and premium live events, and the comedians, movie star, Happy Gilmore 2, and multiple Saturday Night Live appearances. And today, in about, it's Super Bowl Sunday. I don't know if I'll be able to drop this episode, but we will. So you'll hear this after the Super Bowl when you get to this podcast. But Bad Bunny, Super Bowl halftime show. Very excited because I know he can act, and I know he's funny. I know he has good comedy, and I know he could wrestle. But I'm not as familiar with his singing, even though I did hear it multiple times on Saturday Night Live and at the Royal Rumble. Let me also say this about Bad Bunny. This is actually interesting. A lot of Spanish artists, when they gain popularity and get that Hollywood record contract. I don't know if Hollywood's the right word, but anyway, it's still Los Angeles. When they get that record contract, they switch over to English. Gloria Estefan, very famously, right, superstar on the Latin charts, but then she signs with a record label and she decides to record songs in English. Same with Mark Anthony, Enrique Iglesias. This happens time and again with up and coming and famous Latin American musicians getting that contract and then performing, recording in English. And shout out to Bad Bunny, who chose a much, much harder path. Certainly there's much, much more money involved had he chose to record in English. Certainly more concerts, more albums, more fans, more fame. but chose to stick with his heritage and remain true to his roots. And he chose to record all of these albums in the last, 5 years that I've been following him, in Spanish, his first language. He is fluent in English. He could write in English if he wants to, but he chooses to record in Spanish, and absolutely amazing. And then there was a one particular tour. I think the name of the album was like the biggest tour in the world, or the biggest album in the world. That's the English translation of the album. I'm not familiar with the album, but I've heard of it. And he decided to do all of his shows in Puerto Rico, multiple shows in Puerto Rico instead of touring, partially because he said that his fans were being harassed at the concerts by law enforcement and customs agents, and he wanted his fans to be safe, but partially also as a major boon to the Puerto Rican economy. Puerto Rico, hundreds of millions of dollars went into the Puerto Rican economy of people traveling to Puerto Rico to see him and to go to these concerts, where he kept the ticket prices very, very affordable, $50 to $200, $50, very affordable. Unlike a Taylor Swift concert or concerts in the U.S., so kept the prices affordable so his fans can see him. Kept it in Puerto Rico, so the money came into Puerto Rico. And after that devastating hurricane in Puerto Rico definitely needed the money. So really an amazing person, giving back to his community and sacrificing of himself in favor of his art and his language and his culture. So got nothing but respect for the man, for the performer, for the artist, even though I'll admit it, I don't get the music. It doesn't speak to me. I don't listen to it. If it's on, I will change the channel, right? It's just not my flavor of music, but that is very okay, because I'm very, very old, set in my ways, and I like different music. So just because I like different music doesn't mean I don't like or respect him as an artist. All right. So thank you very much. And I look forward to hearing what you have to say about the halftime show. But also want to point out there's been talk about some alternative programming for the halftime show. And I do want to point out there has been that in the past. Maybe it's not been political. It's advertising dollars. I remember the Bud Bowl and other times that they've, I want to say Penn and Teller, but I'm not sure. They've counter-programmed against the halftime show to make money, not to make a political statement. So there is that to it. And to anyone who's just obsessed with the politics of it all, just remember you're being used because people want to make money. They want to sell newspapers and sell clicks, and don't fall for it. Don't let it affect your mental health and well-being. And regardless of what side, political side you are on, you can like music that's not your normal genre. And just because you don't like it doesn't mean it shouldn't be on the halftime show. And also remember, if you don't like it, we're not into cancel culture on the Matthew Mania podcast. So if you don't like it, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be played. It just means you don't like it. So go listen to something else, which is a fair point, right? When people talk about counter programming, right? If you don't like it, go listen to something else. So you're not making a political statement if you go listen to something else. But if you're only doing it to hurt somebody, then F you. All right. Thanks for joining us on the Matthew Mania podcast. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the halftime show. And if you want to get on to the Matthew Mania podcast or the Real Estate Finder podcast, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you more. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Matthew Maschler, Signature Real Estate Finder, realestatefinder.com, MatthewMania.com, BocaRatonWrestling.com.
You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time is his. You know what time it is. You know whose time it is. You know what time it is. Matthew Mania, the time is his. Yeah, got him shook, scared can't look. We're not afraid of the big bad wolf. First comes the right, followed by the left hook. Execute perfect, this is textbook. If you ever test, make sure you bring the best. Head into the ring with the M on my chest. Any match, bring the ladders and the tables. Lock us in the cage and nobody can save you. When it's war, I'm coming to destroy. Napalm blast, I'm coming with the noise. They chant for the king, the girls and the boys. They saying I'm the best cause they didn't have a choice. You know what time You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is. You know what time, you know what time, you know what time it is.